Imagine this. It's been a long, exhausting day. Susan from account has been extra insufferable, and your boss gave you the side eye for returning late from lunch. All you want now is to sink into the couch, sip a glass of wine, and lose yourself in a nostalgia of Stranger Things Season 1. But just as you settle in, remote in hand, the TV flickers to life on its own. The screen jumps to a channel you don't recognize. People are screaming, crying, their faces twisted in terror. This isn't Stranger Things. You frown, pressing the buttons on the remote, but it's useless. The screen won't change. A shiver creeps down your spine, but you shake it off. Probably just a glitch. You set your glass down, turn off the TV, and head to the kitchen for a snack. That's when you see it. The wine bottle you just opened, the one you left chilling inside your makeshift ice bucket, is gone. Instead, it's perched precariously on top of the fridge, leaning against the cabinet. Your stomach drops. You didn't put it there. Someone is in your home. Your mind races. Do you call the cops? Run? No. Horror movies have taught you well. You do what every protagonist does first. You grab a weapon. Your old high school hockey stick. Dusty but solid, and it's still upstairs. You bolt up the steps, heart hammering, but the moment you reach the landing, something feels wrong. The air is colder here, the darkness thicker. You grip the hockey stick tight and force yourself back downstairs. Every door locked, every window shut. No sign of forced entry. Maybe you overreacted. Maybe you just misplaced the bottle. Feeling ridiculous, you exhale and sink back onto the couch. Stranger Things is still waiting. The familiar intro music filling the room. You take a sip of wine, now lukewarm, and shake your head at yourself. Overactive imagination, that's all. As the episode unfolds, you barely notice the way the shadows in the room shift, stretching unnaturally across the walls. You don't hear the faint wet sound of something creeping behind you, leaving a thin, dark trail in its wake. You still don't believe in ghosts? Maybe you should. Hi, I'm Alina. Welcome back to my channel. Your TV or even your walls are acting up. You might start noticing other strange occurrences too. Is your phone battery draining way too fast for no reason? Do your overhead lights flicker? Or does your kettle refuse to turn on? If your appliances start switching on and off by themselves, congratulations, you've got a much bigger problem than a glitchy television. And here's where things get truly unsettling. If your power suddenly cuts out but somehow your TV or computer stays on, well, let's just say you might not be alone in your house. At least not in the way you'd like. Want to test this theory? Believe it or not, your Xbox might help. Hook up a Kinect sensor and pay attention. If your games keep freezing or running ahead even though you're not touching the controller, something's off. But if you're completely alone and the Kinect detects another player in the room, run, get out immediately. Or, you could just never connect the sensor and enjoy your blissful ignorance. Because what you don't know can't haunt you, right? You know the eerie feeling when someone's staring at you from across the room and you just know without even looking? Well, the same thing can happen when there is an unfriendly ghost lurking in your house. If you constantly feel watched, or if stepping into a certain room makes your skin crawl, there is a chance you're not alone, even when you should be. Think about it. Ghosts were once breathing, living people. It only makes sense that they would want to stick around a familiar place, especially their former home. After all, nobody wants to come back as a homeless ghost, right? So if you feel unseen eyes on you but no one's there, maybe don't panic. Give them some space. Let them feel welcome. It's probably better than trying to drive them out and risking them turning against you. That said, let's be real for a moment. If this creeping sense of being watched is accompanied by anxiety, paranoia, or unease that won't go away, it might not be the supernatural at work. It could be a sign of an underlying mental health condition. If these feelings persist, don't hesitate to seek medical advice. A good evaluation and proper treatment can make all the difference. If you have kids, you are probably all too familiar with their imaginary friends. You know, the invisible little girl who insists on joining your family for dinner, or the unseen boy who just has to play soccer in the backyard. Sometimes these imaginary companions are just a fun part of childhood. Other times they're a clever ploy. Mom, Jerry wants to go to Disney World. Dad, Sarah wants to play outside. Can I go too? Most of the time, there's nothing to worry about. Imaginary friends are a normal, even beneficial part of a child's development. But what happens when those imaginary friends start feeling a little too real? What if your child isn't just pretending? What if they are seeing something you can't? Take, for example, a couple who found what they thought was their dream home. The charming Chicago condo perfect for their little family. Their 3-year-old daughter Claire was just as thrilled. When they asked if she liked the place and she wanted to live there, she enthusiastically nodded. Yes, she said, then casually added, the little boy that lives here is nice too. Her parents froze. Confused, her mother asked what she meant. Claire, unfazed, explained that she had seen a little boy around her age, dressed in pajamas, sitting in the dining room. He had waved at her, told his name, and then said he was afraid of water. Imaginary friend? Maybe. But then again, maybe not. So the next time your child starts babbling to someone you can't see, pay attention. You never know who or what might be listening. Most things don't just move on their own, unless there's an earthquake, a tornado, or your kids are playing soccer in the living room. So if your home is calm and quiet and suddenly your beloved cat figurine hurls itself across the room, you've got a problem. Ghost hunter and paranormal researcher Greg Newkirk has witnessed objects like books being violently thrown and even claims to have seen people suddenly burst into flames. Other online forums are packed with chilling first-hand accounts of objects defying the laws of physics with no logical explanation. Take Ryan Crowley, for example. In an essay for Business Insider in 2023, he shared a spine-tingling experience from his early 30s. He had just moved into a massive upstairs apartment in a plain brick building in Illinois when on his very first night something strange happened. At 2 a.m. he heard heavy footsteps approaching his room. Half asleep, he assumed it was a friend, until he looked around and found himself completely alone. A search of the apartment revealed nothing unusual. Things didn't stop there. Over the next 6 months, the activity intensified. Appliances turned on by themselves, furniture shifted without explanation, and kitchen cabinets flew open and slammed shut at all hours. The faucets would sputter randomly, as if unseen hands were playing with them. Crowley endured 2 years in that haunted place, but before he finally moved out, the disturbances took a terrifying turn. He woke up one morning covered in unexplained scratches. Even worse, he found himself pinned down by an invisible force, unable to move. Some things go bump in the night, but what if they never stop? Ever noticed something floating in your vision? It could be harmless eye floaters or something far more unsettling. If these flickering shapes appear in your peripheral vision, you might be catching a glimpse of the infamous shadow people. Eerie figures said to lurk just out of sight. And here's the chilling part. Many believe shadow people aren't just tricks of the eye. Some say they're spirits, while others insist they are demons watching, vanishing the moment you turn to look directly at them. Reports of these shadowy beings have circulated for decades, with countless people swearing they've seen them. But before you jump to paranormal conclusions, it's crucial to consider medical explanations. Seeing shadow people can sometimes indicate underlying conditions like schizophrenia or dementia, and they're also a common hallucination linked to sleep paralysis. That said, some encounters defy easy explanations, like the terrifying experience one Reddit user shared. One morning, they woke up to find a towering shadow standing over their bed. Its form was blurry like a crayon sketch, but its eyes glowed red. As if that weren't horrifying enough, when they looked past the figure, they saw 5 more shadowy beings standing at different distances, silently staring. Whether these figures are tricks of the mind or something beyond our understanding, one thing is certain. If you ever spot a shadow person, you won't forget it. Ever feel like your socks are vanishing into another dimension? One minute you have a perfectly matched pair, and the next one is just gone. Or maybe you swear you left your keys on the kitchen counter, only to find them sitting smugly in the living room. And don't even get me started on that hairbrush you turn your house upside down for, only to find it right where you already looked 3 times. You might check it out to forgetfulness. Maybe you're just absent-minded. Or maybe something else is at play. Something unseen, something mischievous, something like a poltergeist. Poltergeists aren't just your average spooky specters. They're loud, chaotic, and sometimes even a little mean. You might hear mysterious knocks echoing through your home. Maybe an object suddenly flies across the room, missing your head by inches. Some people claim their belongings shift places on their own, or worse, vanish completely. And what if a poltergeist is really feeling nasty? It might give you a good shove or even a slap. One of the most infamous cases of poltergeist activity is the infield haunting. This wasn't just a few bumps in the night. The entity knocked relentlessly on the walls, flipped furniture over like a toddler throwing a tantrum, and even spoke, its eerie voice emerging from nowhere. But poltergeists don't always confine themselves to houses. In 1976, a law firm in Rosenheim, in Germany, became the scene of bizarre supernatural chaos. Phones rang endlessly with no one on the other end. Lights flickered non-stop. Objects moved as if guided by invisible hands. The activity was so relentless that the police and even parapsychologists were called in. After a thorough investigation, they were left baffled. No logical explanation could account for what was happening. So if things keep moving around in your home, maybe it's not just your memory playing tricks on you. Maybe, just maybe, you have an unwanted guest. Hearing whispers or voices when you're alone is anything but normal. Unless, of course, it's Alexa trying to scare you. But what if those eerie sounds seem to be coming from inside your walls? That's next level unsettling. Now, before you start panicking, remember that auditory hallucinations can sometimes be linked to stress, exhaustion, or lack of sleep. But if you're well rested, feeling perfectly fine, and still catching whispers from within the walls, that's the kind of nightmare fuel no one signs up for. Just ask anyone who has visited Indiana's famous Whisper Estate. Guests and owners alike have reported unsettling phenomena, especially after renovations began in 2006. Some heard labored breathing and coughing echoing through the walls, while others were greeted by urgent voices whispering directly into their ears. One particularly chilling account comes from Reddit user someone_68. Alone at home, they distinctly heard a woman whisper "right now" before a man suddenly shouted their name, as if that weren't disturbing enough. They later heard multiple voices murmuring from the wall they were sitting next to. Skeptics might argue that these eerie sounds were nothing more than voices carrying from a neighbor's house, or even early signs of schizophrenia, as some Reddit commenters suggested. But paranormal enthusiasts have a different theory. Whispers from the walls could mean the spirits of the dead are trying to communicate. Others believe such phenomena are signs of a residual haunting, where past events imprint themselves into a location, endlessly replaying like a ghostly recording. So, is it all just a trick of the mind? Or is something or someone trapped between this world and the next, desperately trying to be heard? Have you ever stumbled upon a penny or a quarter in the strangest places around your home? Maybe you were searching for something, your keys, a book, or that one sock that always seemed to disappear, only to find a coin sitting right next to where you swore your missing item should be. If this keeps happening, you might have a hole in your pocket, terrible memory, or just maybe someone from the other side is trying to send you a message. Many believe that finding unexpected coins is no coincidence. It's a sign from beyond. Some say these small tokens are left by ancestors, reaching out to let you know they are still with you. Others think angels scatter them in your path, as a quiet reminder that they are nearby, ready to offer guidance and support. And then there are those who believe that a lost loved one, perhaps a parent or grandparent, is using these coins as a way to make their presence known. Actress Emma Stone has her own eerie experience with this phenomenon. In 2014, she appeared in a late show with David Letterman and shared a story about her late grandfather living quarters around her house. The twist? She never actually met him, yet she was convinced that his spirit was responsible for these mysterious appearances. While she didn't dive too deep into the details, she did casually mention ectoplasm, a word that left both Letterman and the audience scratching their heads. Despite Letterman's skepticism, Stone stood firm in her belief those quarters weren't just spare change. They were magical signs from her grandfather, proof that he was still watching over her. So, the next time you find a coin in an odd place, ask yourself, was it a coincidence? Or is someone, somewhere, trying to get your attention? Have you ever been gripped by a sheer terror for no apparent reason? Maybe you jolted awake in the middle of the night, convinced that something terrible was about to happen. Or perhaps you walked into the office only to be paralyzed by an overwhelming panic attack. It turns out that an intense, unshakable sense of impending doom isn't just a trick of the mind. It can be triggered by several factors. For some, anxiety is the culprit, creating waves of fear that feel impossible to explain. But in other cases, that gut-wrenching dread can be an early warning sign of a serious medical emergency, such as a heart attack, stroke, seizure, or even anaphylaxis. Mental health struggles can also bring on sudden, crushing feelings of unease. However, there is another eerie explanation, one that sends shivers down the spine. Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia is the fear of ghosts. While some people are terrified of vampires, witches, and monsters lurking in the dark, others find themselves irrationally afraid of spirits, especially after watching a horror movie or visiting a haunted house. And with more than 5,000 haunted attractions in the US alone, it's no wonder that the fear of ghosts runs deep. But what happens when that fear goes beyond fiction and into real life? Many believe that the chilling sense of doom isn't just psychological. It could be a sign of supernatural activity. Worse yet, some argue that the feeling doesn't come from ghosts at all, but from something far more sinister: demons. One of the most infamous cases supporting this theory is the haunting of the Smurl family. Between 1974 and 1989, Jack and Janet Smurl claimed that their house in Pittston, Pennsylvania, was plagued by a violent, menacing entity. It started with unsettling noises, but soon escalated to terrifying physical encounters. The Smurl reported that the demon shoved their children down the stairs, tormented them with foul odors, and even assaulted multiple family members. Before these terrifying incidents, Janet often woke up in the dead of night, overcome with a deep sense of dread, convinced that something awful was about to unfold. As the time went on, the entire family felt an oppressive, suffocating atmosphere take hold of their home. Desperate for help, the Smurls turned to legendary paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren in 1986. After the investigation, the Warrens concluded that a powerful demon had taken residence in their house. At one point, it even snarled at Ed to get out. The Smurl haunting remains one of the most chilling supernatural cases on record. So the next time you feel an unshakable sense of doom creeping over you, ask yourself, is it just anxiety, or is something else lurking in the shadows? Cats are mysterious and fascinating creatures, each with a unique personality and quirks that never fail to surprise us. If you share your home with a feline, you've probably witnessed some of their strange behaviors, like chattering at birds, leaving unsettling gifts at your doorstep, or launching sneak attacks from inside a cardboard box. But did you know your cat might also have a supernatural sixth sense? Cats can see and hear things that escape human perception. They can detect tiny insects or rodents scurrying within your walls, thanks to their heightened senses. But here's where it gets eerie. Cats may also see ghosts. A 2014 study revealed that both cats and dogs can see in ultraviolet light, the same spectrum ghost hunters use to detect paranormal activity. If your cat stares intensely at an empty corner, flattens its ears, or puffs up its tail, as if threatened by something invisible, it might not be your imagination. It could be reacting to a ghostly presence. And it's not just about sight. Cats can hear frequencies up to 5 times higher than humans. This means they might pick up on ghostly whispers or unearthly sounds that we simply can't hear. If your cat suddenly growls at thin air or follows something unseen with its eyes, it might be sensing an otherworldly visitor. Now, here's where things get spine-chilling. If your cat ever turns on you aggressively for no apparent reason, some believe it could be possessed by the spirit in your home. But don't panic just yet. More often than not, cats act as guardians, standing by their humans and aggressively confronting whatever unseen force they perceive. Even cat expert Jackson Galaxy, a renowned feline behaviorist, has had first-hand experience with this phenomenon. His own cat once displayed strange, unexplainable behaviors, and after careful observation he became convinced it was reacting to a specific energy inside his home. This encounter led Galaxy to believe that cats might have a connection to forces beyond our understanding. So the next time your cat fixates on an empty space, growls at nothing, or stands protectively by your side, pay attention. Your feline friend might just be shielding you from something you can't see. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!